minutes to an hour, it's open to traffic, it's good to go.
So that's going to depend on the liquid asphalt used in the chip seal. So you're going to do the cure out time to make sure you get the water out of the emulsion.
That's
so depends somewhat on whether it's a rapid set or not.
Sure.
But generally, those time frames on the rapid set materials would be good.
And essentially what a fog seal is, so everybody knows, it's a tack coat application, essentially. If you didn't. That's essentially what a fog is.
So you're kind of getting the same effect, I guess, as a microsurfacing, where you're microsurfacing. It seems like you're rolling the aggregate in what the emulsifier.
Ben might know better than me.
This way, you're kind of doing emulsifier aggregate and then a fog on top.
Well, what you're doing with the fog seal is you're filling in some of the voids in that top third of the chip seal aggregate that's still exposed. You're going to get, you are going to coat the aggregate a little bit, but you're basically going to get a lot of that to drain down into the lower areas of that.
That's what. So one of the downfalls that we didn't like for fogging was that the surface can become almost too slick.
Sure.
And so with chip seal, using the aggregates as you're talking about, I'm curious what the friction point is then. Does that work with it?
Yeah, that should work. When you look at it, you still have the coarse texture, because most of that's draining down into those voids. It's not sitting up on the surface of the aggregate.
Yeah, last thing, well, no, go ahead.
So I just wanted to explain this a little bit more. I just noted that this one, we added the fog because it wasn't in the other ones, but that was just so you would get the price breakdown, cost per square yard, but then we broke it out by dollars per square yard per year. And so,
of the life expectancy of that treatment.
so that's how we wanted to break it all down. And of course, we had the caveat of it doesn't include all the other prep work. This is just for the process itself. Okay. So that was where we were at with that one. The next time, okay,
One
sorry,
more thing.
yeah.
Sorry, last thing. So I guess our point on this is, can you go back
Yeah.
one more? So because you have a chip seal lasting 4 or 5 years on a good condition roadway, your 1.5-inch thin overlay 10 to 14 years. So if we go to the next slide, obviously your thin overlay at 1.5 inches is going to cost you significantly more than your low cost option of a chip seal. But because this is lasting you 4 to 5 years, this is lasting you 10 to 12, over time, the life of that life cycle, it's essentially a wash with a lot of these. So again, it's right treatment, right time. You're not going to put a thin overlay on something that you could address with a chip seal, but we also don't want you to look at a roadway that really needs either a micro surface or a thin overlay and say, all I have is money for a chip seal. It's probably not money well spent at that point in time.
So with these last 3 slides, where does crack filling fit into the numbers?
Crack filling is kind of, in my opinion, on top of all this. You
It's
just
essential.
do
You
the
do
crack
it.
filling, keep the water
You
out.
do it as you see it.
Right, I understand that, but how does that equate in all this as far as prolonging life of your pavement? I know it's in lieu of these, but where does that fit into if you had 7 or 8, does that buy us 3 or 4 more years, or 2 more years? And what's the cost breakdown of that?
Of the crack fill, you said?
Yeah, just comparatively to the rest of the surface treatments.
I think crack filling is like you do it, like you guys said earlier,
You do it as you see it.
Yeah.
You could be crack filling a 9.
Correct.
It's number one. First it's crack fill and then everything other.
Correct.
Yeah.
I guess that's the best way to put
That's
it.
not the question, is
Right.
from a dollars and cents perspective, so we do crack fill at 9s and 7s.
And I do understand what you're saying is that if I get in and crack fill it, how much life did that give me in addition to have not done anything with it at all?
Correct.
And
Okay.
that I would even have to see if there would be an educated guess within the industry to even give us a ballpark. Because I know, essentially they'll say if you pave a road it'll take 20 years from it to go,
Right.
you know, from 100% from pavement condition index to flat bottom if you don't do anything. So I guess we just try to see where those bumps are and how much life they gave you if you prolonged it. But I don't know, that one I don't have a really good number for you, but I can ask around and see what I can get for you. Okay, so I'm gonna move off of preservation or preventative stuff, and now you're really into trouble. Okay, so now you're looking at rehabs, right? Now you're down to your 5s. You've got some problems here that all the other treatments really aren't gonna fix. You're looking at overlaying and wedging. Overlaying, you guys, know what that is. Make sure best practices are used. Sweep the road. We want it to be good and clean. We want to patch anything that needs to be done, any wedging that needs to take place. Make sure we tack it appropriately. We want good uniform tack distribution out there. Make sure that the tack has time to break and cure out before we pave. The typical surface treatments now are surface mixes are either 9.5 millimeter, which is number 5, or 12.5 millimeter, number 4 mix. Wedging, I'll just go through this pretty quickly. If you've got, this is just a typical crown road, you take out your problem areas on the end slopes and then you fill in here. This is what we're talking about with wedging. But the one thing that I really want to focus on with this, again, best practices always, but this is what's done and then something else on top of it. Typically, we don't want to drive around a road that looks like this. We don't want to leave it that way. We want to finish over it. And then if we're now getting into the poor, very poor, right, your PACER ratings are now the 3s and the 4s, all your preventative stuff, that time is come and gone. It's time for something different. What are we going to do? Keep it safe until you can afford to reconstruct it. Okay, that's definitely the name of the game. But we'll talk a little bit about pulverizing and relay. I'll go through these a little bit quickly so I can get you guys out of time. Somebody keep me on track. But with the pulverizing, what we're going to do is we're going to leave the asphalt out there, everything in place. We're going to take it down. We're going to mix it with some of the underlying layers, right? For some of our base there, we're basically going to just get rid of all the cracks and we're going to mix it all up and turn it all back into base. And we're going to compact it, roll it, and then pave over it. The reason why we look at this is because it can help us conserve our natural resources. We're keeping everything on site. We're not hauling the broken asphalt out. We're not hauling new virgin aggregates in. So that's a good thing. You can speed up the construction by keeping everything on site and doing everything all at once. You can correct the pavement profile, some of the issues that are out there, because now essentially you're destroying it and putting it all back together. One of the other processes I want to talk about, and this is once your rating is completely shot and you're at the 1s and 2s, is full depth reclamation, which is very similar to pulverize. Essentially you pulverize it twice. But what we're going to do here is, again, we're going to go down into the base and we're going to get all that shaped up and ready to go, and then we're going to add a stabilizing agent to it. Then we're going to come in and pulverize that into it as we mix it with water, and that's going to give us a stabilized base. Okay, then we're going to compact it all, and then we're going to roll it. So here you can see the stabilization. We're going to shape it up. Okay, so left it's stabilized, right it's still pulverized, and then it's ready to go for an overlay. Okay. Another process that's out there instead of the full depth reclamation is called hold in place recycling. This used to be an older technology, kind of was in limbo. I will tell you right now, with the technology that's out there, this is where it's heading. Okay, there's been a lot of innovation that's come to hold in place recycling. So I want to explain a little bit about it and what makes it different than the full depth reclamation and just a regular pulverizing. So again, we're focused all on recycling and sustainability and keeping all the materials on site with this type of application. So I want to walk through it a little bit, but this is a picture of what it looks like, and you can see all the material behind it. And I'll tell you where it came from. So this is the train for the cold in place recycling. It's a pretty long train. I mean, you're talking a good couple 100 feet here, quite a few pieces of equipment. So you're gonna have your milling machine here that's gonna pick up all the material. It's gonna have to transfer it and throw it into a crusher, right? Because you know when you mill up the pavement, you get different size aggregates, different chunks that come out. So you got to crush it all, screen it all out to the sizes that you want it. It's gonna introduce it to the pug mill. And then in the pug mill is where it's gonna get its asphalt, okay? So you're gonna put asphalt in it, but we're gonna foam the asphalt. So we're gonna mix it with water. So if you've ever heard asphalt and water don't mix, yeah, they don't. So what happens is it foams up and it bubbles and it creates this layering effect that when you put that with the recycled product, it's pretty neat product that you get that comes out of it. So we're gonna mix it with foamed asphalt and we're gonna pick it up, we're gonna put it in the paver, you're gonna pave it like it's mixed. So it's actually an aggregate. It's gonna act more like an aggregate, but you pave it like a mix, you roll it like a mix, you open it up to traffic, then you're gonna let it cure out, and then you're gonna come over and you're gonna cap it, is what we say, you're gonna overlay it, okay? So the technology on this is pretty fascinating, yes?
So you're gonna overlay with an HMA. Has there been any thought of going over that with some other product like a chip seal?
I do believe that they have chip sealed over cold in place, and also, I don't know if you know much about stone matrix asphalt, the SMAs, that's, it's a gap graded mix. They use that over top of it. You want enough there, because again, it's more like a real beefy, stabilized base. It's not really an asphalt HMA product, so you need to protect it, but as long as you have, you know, I'd say a double chip seal, multiple layers to protect it, I think you could get away with that. Where I was talking about the innovation and the technology of it, again, this was the paving train. This just shows the asphalt truck up top, and then with the milling machine to come and then take it and transfer it on back. But what's happened now is they have a single unit. Okay, so now they've incorporated everything into one unit for a lot of money. Go ahead.
So we looked into this and maybe it looks like that's changed between the length of the equipment for municipalities, but also we had a problem with the height, burning trees, stuff like that. Is that being addressed with this new program?
So this is the standard size of a milling machine, a big milling machine, but it's not as tall as what some of the other ones were. I think this one here might have a little bit more height to it. It's not small, but I would have to look at what the size is. What they did was cut down on the length for sure. So now you don't need the milling machine and the pug mill, you know, and everything is all right there. So it essentially pulls the material up, sizes it, adds, so you've got your water truck and an asphalt truck is all that's out there, foams it, throws it in the paver, paves it, you roll it, we still check it for densities, and you're gone. You open it up to traffic.
So how common is this in cold climates?
It is gaining traction. We do it here in Wisconsin. The DOT does it. We've had counties do it. We've had some municipalities doing it. Iowa, this is done a lot in Iowa, which is why, you know, we know it's suitable for our climates here. And so far, like we said, it was kind of an older technology. We kind of got away from it because it was too constraining with all the different pieces of equipment. But now that it's in a single unit,
Right, it
It's
used to
much more.
just be, you know, popular on the long stretches of your county highways where you could have that long paving train. Now that you have that single unit, you're starting to see a lot more of your, you know, your downtowns, your urban areas. So it's not so much a, I don't think a climate question, because it's been around for a very long time. It's just that because of that single unit train, it's much more accessible for more local units of government than it used to be.
So are there enough contractors who will be bidding if there was a project?
Yeah, I can't say that there are, not every contractor has the single unit cold in place recycling train or the unit. Most of them they rent them. They're starting to see the DOT bid this work a lot more now, so a couple contractors have purchased them, but most of them, to the best of my knowledge, rent them. So you may get multiple bids from different contractors who may be trying to rent it from the same provider, because not everybody owns that piece of equipment.
Or at least the same subcontractor that does this work, that's very familiar with it.
Right.
Who is in Wisconsin, who solely does it. Or primarily in Wisconsin, I guess he goes to other states, but primarily in Wisconsin. I just had a couple more pictures, and this was just to show the technology of it, that this really gets down to the specifics. You control a lot right there on the single unit, where before you were just kind of guessing, you know, okay, this is, you know, if I've used this much water and this much AC and doing it this way, it's all automated now. How are we doing for time? 'Cause we have 5 minutes. So this is where we were stopping at, going all the way from your PACER ratings of 10 all the way through to the full reconstruction and replacement. It's a lot of information, we know that. You know, like Brandon said, we are a resource for you. If there's anything that we can do to help out, we're all here and happy to answer questions that you might have. Send us emails, pick up the phone. We'd be happy to hear from you. Do you have any questions or comments?
The DOT mix, is that something you specifically have to ask for when you're ordering? Will they try to avoid it if you want that formulation?
I'm pausing because I don't know who is making your products for you. Any of our members make DOT mixes to the point that they might not even have an alternative for you. The reason why I would recommend that you specify WisDOT materials is because then you'll get that air void regression, which just means we design it at 4%. 4% air voids is what we all used to think that we wanted with SuperPave. Now we've said design it to 4%. We like that aggregate structure. We don't have rutting problems out there, but I want more asphalt in my mix. So then what they do is they regress it from 4% down to 3% with just virgin asphalt. So it's all graphed at 4%. Air voids, if you take out a little bit of AC, 0.5%, and then add it, you know, in 0.5% increments, you get a chart, and then you break that down. So you'll get, the statewide average is either 3 or 4 tenths more of virgin binder liquid asphalt in your mixes. And then what that does in turn, if you say WisDOT, if the density requirement has also increased by at least a full percent, in some cases 2.5%. On our shoulders and appurtenances, we brought them all the way up, so they're all the same density targets. So that additional AC will help you with compaction and make it more impermeable to keep the water out. And last longer, it'll be blacker longer, all those other good benefits of it. But there's a lot of reasons why we went that route. So I would stress to spec WisDOT materials. The only time you'll get the type thing is in my opinion on the liquid side of the house. You can modify binders. If you come in now and want highly polymerized modified, sometimes it takes a while to order all that stuff in. That's not something you're going to want to call and that morning come in and expect a V-grade binder. So that would be my only hesitation.
What's your opinion of the future of forest asphalt?
I would say
Feel free
go
to,
look at our design guide. You know, it's cold climate is what I tell you here. I think that we can mitigate a lot of the freeze thaw as long as you can keep it permeable and porous. Right now, I think that's our biggest struggle.
Not the maintenance side of it?
Would be trying to keep it clean. Yep, because we can keep the asphalt all together that it's not clogging it up, but everything else around us is. You know, we've done the studies of the power washes through it. Well, yeah, but you're still plugging it down further into the system, but as long as the system stays functional, it works quite well. With the high amount of AC that's in it, it's pretty flexible and it's pretty forgiving. We've done a better job, I think, as an industry. The more we do, the more we learn. You know, I think initially we had a lot of those power steering marks that Ben was talking about when people want to crank their wheels, you know, in parking spots. We've seen that kind of go away a little bit with fine tuning the mixes. I would still, if you're going to do porous, give me a call. I'd like to talk to you about it. But I would still recommend an Anastrip additive, which sounds silly because you want the water to run through it. But I'm not convinced that water doesn't sit in there in places, especially if it's clogged up. I would strongly recommend that, just so you don't have that stripping potential of the asphalt shedding away from the aggregate. And then I think you polymerize it to really give it the flexibility. And I think as long as you can maintain it as best as you can, and if it stays open, it'll work for you.
Okay, let's give our speakers another round of applause. Who knew that asphalt could be so exciting? I want to thank everybody for being here today. Mayor Brar, who is standing up here, this was an idea of his, so I want to give him the proper appreciation that he wanted our Cities and Villages Association to kind of put on this event for today, and we will be looking at doing again this in the future. So again, thanks for being here today. It's 3 o'clock, a little after. I don't know if you're available to take more questions after we adjourn here, but again, we appreciate you being here. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for everybody coming here. This is good.